from PRX.
Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you skip holiday spirits like I do, but you get the spirit of the holidays, or if you enjoy all kinds of holiday spirits, that's cool too. Or if you say, I pass on all that, but I wouldn't mind you misreading and paraphrasing through a famous story. So if any of those, or if you're new, you say, I thought this was a sleep podcast or a reading of A Christmas Carol. And I'd say, well, it's a little bit of both. Welcome to Sleep With Me, the podcast that's here to put you to sleep by keeping you company and taking your mind off of stuff. Or in this case, kind of reading to you, but where your friend makes commentaries throughout the reading or changes it around to make it more sleepy. So it'll be a part of a familiar tale, but actually, especially in this episode, there was a couple things that stuck out to me that I never noticed before in other versions of A Christmas Carol. So yeah, this will be part 2 of our reading of A Christmas Carol, and then next year we'll keep going with this if people enjoy it. So let me know what you think if you're a regular listener or if you're new. This show is to be here for you in the deep, dark night. Keep you company. We're all rooting for you. We're all sharing something here together. So I'm glad you're here. This show is very different. So if you're new, give it a few tries. Happy holiday season, or if you pass on the holiday season, happy winter or summer, wherever you are in the world. Happy season. Seasonally, this is seasonally dull. So anything else, if you're new, yeah, just give the show a few tries. What we got coming up is support. So paying for the show is optional. Then after the support, a long meandering intro meant to ease you into bedtime. And then later on will be our reading from A Christmas Carol, from Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And this show is exclusively made possible by listener support. Listeners that support the show directly or listeners that support our sponsors. So our sponsors stay around and support the show back. So we could not do it without those listeners that are engaged. So if you have a chance right now, if you are one of those people, you're like, I'm a super listener, how can I make sure this podcast is here for me and everybody else? Coming up as ways you could do so. But if you could also take a second, if you're not in a place where you could support the show, to really send those thankful vibes, because I'm really thankful to be able to make this show. And I can't do it without the people that say, man, this podcast makes my life better. How can I help? And if you're saying that to yourself, here's the ways you could do that. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Helix. And oh boy, am I excited, because my Helix is on its way. I took the Helix quiz after I moved. You know, some of my sleeping preferences changed. So I took the quiz. I got matched with the perfect mattress for me and how I sleep, how I like to sleep cool and my needs. You know, but what about you? The winter season is on us, and with it being cooler, are you going to spend more time indoors, relaxing with family, playing games, watching TV? Maybe even if you have a coldy cold, you know, you're really going to want a comfortable mattress then. So it's the perfect time to invest in a new mattress. Helix has you covered, because we all have different ways we like our mattresses to feel. We all have different sleep positions, you know, different levels of firmness we like. So here's the thing. Take that Helix quiz, helixsleep.com/sleep, because Helix is going to match you with the perfect mattress based on your personal preferences and sleep needs. It makes buying a mattress so easy. And like I said, you know, I like to sleep cooler. I sleep on my side. I sleep on my stomach. But I've developed a fondness for firmer mattresses now. So I was looking for something like that. And the Helix quiz worked it all out for me. I'm just waiting. Every day I hear the doorbell. I'm like, is that my new Helix? So you could be sleeping in a new Helix while I'm sleeping in a new Helix. We'll have one more thing in common. And no matter what this colder season brings, we know we'll both be comfortable. But the best part is Helix always has a deal for our listeners. So go to helixsleep.com/sleep for 20% off site-wide during their extended Cyber Monday sale. That's helixsleep.com/sleep for their extended Cyber Monday offer. 20% off site-wide. Make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. helixsleep.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody. Everybody, Scoots here. And you know, when I wake up in the morning, I try to take some downtime, some quiet time before I get my day started. But as soon as that quiet time's over, my brain's bouncing around. All the things I got to do. I'm forgetting the things I got to do. I'm jumping from one thing to the other. I try to drink some coffee to boost my focus, but it ends up making me jittery. And I have a couple tools at work, meditation, pausing. It can be a struggle. And I do have a lot to accomplish every day. So I'm always on the lookout. What else can help me focus, get things done, but that doesn't have a downside? And that's what I love about our new sponsor. It solves some of those problems. And I'm talking about Everyday Dose, which is coffee plus benefits. Everyday Dose combines high-quality coffee with powerful ingredients like lion's mane and chaga, collagen, protein, and nootropics to fuel your brain, boost focus, and give you clean, sustained energy all day long. And it's delicious. It tastes just like coffee, but there's no downsides. There's no crash, no jitters, just clean, sustained energy. And then I can get to focusing on what's important, putting you to sleep, right? So if you get those coffee jitters, if you wake up and you say, man, I wish there was something to help me focus on what's important, that tastes good, well, you got to check out Everyday Dose. Right now, get 61% off your first Coffee Plus starter kit, free Peppermint Mocha Creamer Plus for the holidays, and over $100 in free gifts. Plus, enter for a chance to win $100 cash or get your entire order refunded. Visit everydaydose.com/sleep or use sleep at checkout. Thanks, everybody. Hey, everybody, Scoots here. I just wanted to let you know that we're having a huge sale, 20% off 3 months for Sleep With Me Plus subscribers, new subscribers. You could sign up if you've been on the fence, but you say, man, I heard all those messages you said, Scoots, but I was really looking for a deal as well. Well, we have a deal now till the end of the year. You can get ad-free episodes, ad-free story-only episodes. You can become a Boar friend or a Boar bestie and save 20% off 3 months at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Oh, Mystery Bard. A lot of people help out on the show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
All right, hey everybody, during this holiday season, you should gift yourself the gift of sleep phones with Sleep With Me branded sleep phones. We got a few different ones. And you could get those at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep-phones. That's the only place you could get the Sleep With Me versions of sleep phones. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep-phones. And use the promo code SleepWithMe at checkout to get a discount. That's sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep-phones and use Sleep With Me at checkout. Thanks, everybody. What do you say we get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble, getting to sleep, trouble, staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it the bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever is keeping you awake. Those could be thoughts on your mind, like thoughts you're thinking about. So thoughts that you're thinking about, they could be feelings, anything coming up for you emotionally, like feelings about those thoughts or feelings that are left over from the day. It could be physical sensations. Could be changes in time, temperature, routine. You could be going through something, in the middle of something, getting over something, travel, guests. work schedule. Maybe you work a different shift. Maybe your work schedule changed. Whatever it is, the only reason I list through some of that stuff is because, and I mean this in the broadest way possible, in the softest way possible, in the most indirect way possible, but you can, adjust the directness, is like we are in this together, loosely and indirectly, but together. And I want you to know that, like, even if I don't know what you're going through right now, even if I've never experienced what brought you to this show, there really is someone listening right now, somewhere in the world, who's rooting for you, who's been through something similar or very close or parallel, and they really do get how you feel right now. And I know that might be hard for some people to accept, but there's enough people listening right now that's true, that somewhere else in the world, someone's rooting for you to get a good night's sleep. And they get the experience, and some people are experiencing this right now, or you can have both sides of the experience at the same time. You could let them root for you, and you could root for them back, or someone else in the world, and say, I hope you get a good night's sleep too. I hope this show brings you some relief or comfort or mild humor in the deep, dark night. And when you're new, just know, like, there's someone rooting for you. Even if the show does not work out for you, me and a lot of other people are still hopeful you'll get the rest you need and you deserve, because you deserve a bedtime where you don't have to dread it, where it doesn't have as much rigmarole as it does for me when I'm having trouble. That a bedtime you could feel neutral about or look forward to, so you get the rest you need on a regular basis, so your day tomorrow is more manageable. And so if you're doing that, and it becomes something that, for me, 60-70% of the time I get a good night's sleep, and then I could be out there flourishing in the world. And it's kind of like a dial, like no pressure to flourish, but hopefully we make your life more manageable. Hopefully we at least make things neutral for you. But I really strive to bring you more, indirectly though, because this show really doesn't solve any problems. It's just to be here, and the other listeners are just to be here rooting for you, right? And I'm here to be distracting to you. So I know that's a bit much, but it's important because you're important. Even if we're all indirectly connected, we're connected here in the deep, dark night. And that's what I do. I send my voice across to the deep, dark night. I use lulling, soothing, creaky dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. I go off topic. I get mixed up. Sometimes I get serious, but a lot of times I get silly. And also, what's that stuff called? Not stuff. With continuity. Holy lack of continuity with this one, because I hadn't, I have an inability. Incontinuity is that a thing? Uncontinuity. I guess this show is full of decontinuity. But I think that's a part of bedtime and stuff. And so, my voice is not traditionally soothing. I have creaky dulcet tones, pointless meanders, and superfluous tangents, or demonstration of uncontinuity. I don't know. Sometimes I attempt for recontinuity, but I usually am unsuccessful at reestablishing continuity. If I ever become an expert in anything, and then I publish a book, what was it called? Reestablishing Continuity? I don't know. Would that just be a chapter? Can anybody can anybody see if Daniel Pink could put a chapter in a book? Reestablishing Continuity. It seems kind of in a good way feels like that. I don't know. But what am I here to explain? Oh, well, this show, I kind of said, we're all in this together, and I'm rooting for you. But when you first get here, you may be skeptical, doubtful, or frustrated, because I don't know how you arrived at the show, right? Maybe it was through a search. Maybe it was through a recommendation. Maybe you just stumbled upon it. But if you're here, it's probably because you have some sort of relationship with sleep that's not ideal, right? And you probably have expectations of what a sleep podcast is. Maybe you've listened to other sleep podcasts, or maybe you've listened to, meditative stuff. And then you get here, and I'm kind of different, right? I'm very different, and that's a good thing. But it's not for everybody. But I will say that for most people, most regular listeners, people that support the show on an ongoing basis, they shared that when they got here because that's a reasonable way to get here. You have reasonable expectations of what a sleep podcast might be. And all I can tell you is what those listeners told me is like, yeah, it took 2 or 3 tries. At first, I really didn't like the show. I wasn't sure about you or the format. And then I listened again and I was like, eh. And then on the 3rd time, I realized I fell asleep because I realized, oh, on the 3rd time, I kind of got that he was serious about all his nonsense. And so then it suddenly made sense that it doesn't make any sense at all. You know, like that song, making lulls out of not much at all. Like, I don't know, but there's a different song. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. And so just give it a few tries and see how it goes. You really have nothing to lose. And here's the thing. If you decide, or you've already decided, this show's not for you, you don't like me, that's okay. Or you're not sure, and then you listen once or twice more, and you're like, no, this definitely isn't for me. That's totally cool. I have a website set up just for you, and a lot of other people share that. It's called sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. If you click a couple of questions, it'll take you to a list of other sleep podcasts and sleepy stuff. And that's been a very successful thing because, like I said, we're still rooting for you, even if you don't listen to the show ever again. Like, we still, like, passed, like, and nodded to each other and said, yeah, I get it. So I'm glad you're here. And if you move on, you move on. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. You got your options open. So that's one thing to know. Most people are skeptical or doubtful, and a lot of people don't like me or ever like the show, and that's good. Then a couple things to get used to if you're new, or reminders, is that this is a podcast you don't really listen to, but you can listen to it. It's not like totally like background noise, because I am putting in effort to be here and be present with you. But you don't need to listen to me. So it is like TV on in the other room, or sports or radio that you're barely paying attention to or listening to, or like a show streaming under your pillow, or on the phone, or a roommate talking about, and you say, okay, can you give me a recap of Christmas Carol? Oh, yeah. Which one? Which one do you want me to tell you about? It was a stormy eve when Jean-Luc Picard. No. Tell me about the one with Patton. Okay, yeah, it was like the guy that played Patton, I think. It was, or there's so many options. So many options. Was that one on a train? No, that's a different one. Oh, okay. Okay, so that was what I was thinking of. Can I tell? Oh, yeah, you could tell me about that. So if you had someone, a roommate or a friend or a partner, do that for you every night, you wouldn't need Sleep With Me. Because you'd say, okay, you keep talking, but I'm going to kind of pay attention. I'm kind of listening to you. And that works. The in-person service works one or 2 nights a year, right? Or maybe even a month. You got a generous person or a talkative roommate on a different sleep schedule. But at some point, if it's in person, you say, okay, could you stop talking now? But you can't even say it because you're almost asleep. I've done the research, or I've been to, yeah. So it's a common refrain from roommates. I never need to hear it again. That's what they say about me and the show. I got enough of it in person. So, yeah, but the podcast is optional. So it's kind of like that, like sand passing through your hands, out of focus picture. Just see how it goes. So it's a podcast you don't really listen to. It's also a podcast that's not really here to put you to sleep. It could kind of cover that in the intro. And I've been making this show about 13 years. I guess we're almost in our 13th year, maybe. I don't know. And but this podcast has never been here. It's the podcast that puts you to sleep, but it's a sleep podcast where there's no pressure to fall asleep. There's a reason the episodes are over an hour. So you don't have to worry about falling asleep. There's people listening who can't sleep at all, or who wake up in the middle of the night, or who need a break during the day. And I'm here to keep you company and them company to the very end, whether you're awake or asleep, whether you're listening to me or not, which is a little bit different because my job is not to be like a guru or a sleep expert. It's to be your friend in the deep dark night, your bore friend, your bore bae, your bore sib, your bore cuz, your neighbor, your bore bee, your boreman, your chairman of the boards, your Boris Borloff, your best bore friend forever. To just hang with you while you fall asleep. To be here. That's what a bore bestie does, especially forever. However, F number 4 EVA or whatever. Kind of like girls forever. Or for Ava, you may say. But, I'm here to be your bore friend and just chill with you, whether you're awake or asleep, and take your mind off stuff. Be a mild distraction. Barely, my boyfriend, he's not as funny as the actual people in my life, but he's not bad. So that's my job. The only other thing I like to explain if you're new or to reestablish and meet you where you are is that the structure of the show. The show has a very specific structure to benefit the maximum amount of people it can, but it is adjustable if you become a regular listener. So I'll just run through that. In case you're new or in case you're like, why is this show structured like this? Well, to benefit the maximum amount of people. So every show we do starts off with a rating. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, at least in the last 10 years. So you feel seen and welcomed in. You say, oh, I got greeted. That's nice. And he did say something silly. Okay, I kind of get it. Then there's support, like requests for listeners to support the show and sponsor support. So that paying for the show is optional, especially optional for new listeners, occasional listeners, people that are just going through something over a few weeks or a few months. Like the regular listeners that support the show are the only way we're able to do this. And we're very thankful for that. But paying for the show and being optional benefits a lot of those people that aren't super listeners. Or super listeners that just aren't in a place where they can support the show. So that's what's up with the support. And if you don't like listening to the ads, whether you're new or a long-term listener, you can get a Sleep With Me Plus, and you can get ad-free versions and a lot of other versions of the show built with super listeners in mind. But it's a pretty good deal. It benefits more people than if the show was just behind a paywall. Then there's a long, meandering intro, totally separate from the support. Meant to ease you into bedtime. And it goes on about 15, 20 minutes where I try to explain what the podcast is and I go off topic a few times. I follow a familiar structure every time, but every intro is different so that, I don't know, I'm actually really here working for you. But it's also different because whatever it is that keeps me awake, it adjusts and it has to have variety, familiarity and variety in order to be distracting enough for me to fall asleep and get out of my head or my body or whatever's keeping me awake, whatever is that's demanding my attention when I'm trying to fall asleep. So, yeah, I guess what's my point with that? I don't know. Oh, every intro is different. But the intro also serves another purpose, which is not to put you to sleep. It's to ease you into bedtime. If you fall asleep fast, you're way better off. We actually need you to support the show on Sleep With Me Plus. But, or if you prefer some of the intros, we have a podcast, Bedtime Stories from Sleep With Me, in every podcast app. But the intro is kind of a hang time where we as a community hang around separately. And some people are getting ready for bed. It's kind of like a giant dorm or giant apartment building or giant community with like a speaker. And some people are getting ready for bed. Some people are chilling out, winding down, doing some wind down activity, whatever, Sudoku's one, maybe, I don't know, maybe not, maybe easier than hard, yeah, reading a book, doodling, looking out the window, or just getting comfortable and easing into bedtime, because that's what works for me personally. That's what the studies have shown works for most people. And it's a nice time to be eased into bedtime instead of just being like, okay, I'm going to put you to sleep now. I don't know if that necessarily has ever worked for me. I wish it did. I guess if I did, the show would be indispensable for everybody, but it's not. I get to ease into bedtime. But if you don't like the intros, you can get that on Bedtime Stories from Sleep With Me. If you love the intros, Boar Friends and Boar Besties get multiple all-intro episodes every single month. So it's kind of, you know, 1 dozen of the other or 1/10 of something. I don't know. Not good with math or fractions. But I love your fractions and math. Oh, boy. We can agree. You know, we're you know what I'm saying. Okay, so, that's the intro. Then there's support. And then there'll be our reading of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. Part 2, Part 1 probably came out a couple weeks ago. And that's it. I'm really glad you're here. I work really hard. I yearn and I strive. I really want to help you fall asleep. Thanks again for coming by. And if this show makes your life better on a regular basis, particularly if you've been listening over 3 years or you listen to multiple episodes every single night or you fall asleep fast, this is the ways you could enable us to keep doing this for you and for everybody else. Thanks. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots, and if you've been listening this is great news. If you're hearing this message, you probably heard all the other message about Sleep With Me Plus, but this one's different because we're having a sale right now until December 31st. You could save 20% off your first 3 months and just use that same link, sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Or if you want to give or get the gift of Sleep With Me Plus, someone in your life says, what's a perfect gift for you? Well, I'll really miss Sleep With Me if it's gone. I listen all the time. I'd love to check out the ad-free episodes, story-only episodes. They can gift you 3 months, 6 months, 12 months of Sleep With Me Plus at any level for 20% off. So they could buy you a year, or, hey, you could buy yourself a year of Sleep With Me Plus and get 20% off. And you could do that at sleepwithmepodcast.com/gift. That's sleepwithmepodcast.com/gift. Get the gift, give the gift, or just sign up and support the show that puts you to sleep. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Thanks, everybody. All right, this is Sleep With Me's reading the Christmas Carol Part 2. And when we last left off, Jacob Marley had just was saying, hey, Scrooge, it's me, Casper, Jacob Marley. So somebody said, hey, you know, this is long, man. I got a lot to carry around. I'm bringing joy to people. Could bring joy to you, too. And Scrooge glanced about him on the floor in expectation of finding himself full of presents and merry. Jacob, he said imploringly, old Jacob Marley, old J.M., tell me more. Speak comfort to me, Jacob. Sorry, I got a lot of comfort to give out tonight, Scrooge. I don't know if I could give you any. That comfort comes from other regions, Ebenezer Scrooge, and is conveyed by other ministers to other people. Busy time of year to be giving out comfort, you know. You could, unless you find comfort. I know you do find comfort in the form of coal. But that's more, a very little more is all permitted to me. I cannot rest. I cannot stay. I cannot linger anywhere. You know, I've been beyond, in a spiritual sense, beyond our counting house, mark me. In my life, my spirit never roved beyond the narrow limits of our workplace. But, you know, it was weary, and now I'm journeying to de-weary the weary. Now, it was a habit with Scrooge, whenever he became thoughtful, to put his hands in his breeches pockets or breeches, and a little comforting. Pondering on what Jacob Marley had said, he did so now, but without lifting up his eyes or getting off his knees. You must have been very slow about it, Jacob, Scrooge observed in a businesslike manner. Look through with humility and deference. Slow? What are you talking about, dude? Said Jacob Marley. 7 years. You've been traveling the whole time? Yeah, the whole time I've been traveling. I've been gifted doing stuff to prepare for people's bowls full. Yeah, there's no time to rest. Incessant preparation for the holiday season. You travel fast, said Scrooge. Do you travel by reindeer? Or is it jet-powered? Jets haven't been invented yet, Ebenezer. But I travel on the wings of the wind. And that's the name of one of the many sleighs in Santa's employ. Man, this sounds great. You must have been around and around and around in 7 years, said Scrooge. Marley, hearing this, let out a thing like, it sounded like a groan in the silence of the night. And someone would have said, that's a nuisance. I'm trying to sleep, if he had did it while they were sleeping. Oh, man. Oh, the bowls of jelly. Oh, the cheeks so rosy and merry. But takes a lot of work to supply the Christmas joy and to get more people into Christmas joy. Incessant labor it is. And it's by immortal beings that make the holidays happen. For this earth must pass, into eternity before the good of which it is susceptible is all developed. Not to know that everybody's working hard in other worlds, kindly in this little sphere. The kindly work, whatever it may be, will find its, time flies by for its vast means of usefulness. Not to know that no space of regret can make amends for one's life's opportunities misused. Such was I, oh, such was I. Wait a second, you're saying part of this, is your job? Like you have a job, nonstop 24/7 job provides for the past 7 years in preparation for the holiday season? I don't remember this from last episode. You were always a good man of business, Jacob, faltered Scrooge, who now began to apply this to himself. Why wouldn't they have you, didn't you already earn your time off? And wouldn't they have you in the business department? Business, said Marley, wringing his hands again. Business. Humankind was my business, or it should have been. The common welfare, charity, mercy, forbearance, benevolence. Those should have been my business. But the dealings of my trade were a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business. He held up some of the tinsel that enveloped or was around him as if it were the cause of his woe, and he flung some tinsel heavily upon the ground. At the time of the rolling year, Marley said, the closer it gets to the holidays, the worse it is, the more work and the less holiday cheer for me. I don't get to enjoy it or stop and savor it. Why did I walk through crowds of fellow beings with my eyes turned down? I mean, in the past, when I could have appreciated it. Never did I raise my eyes to that blessed star which led the wise men to the poor abode. Were there no poor homes to which its light would have conducted me during my earthly time, where I could have brought joy? Scrooge was very much dismayed to hear Marley going on and on and on, and his teeth began to chatter just a bit. Hear me, said Marley. My time's nearly up. I got to move on. I got work to do. Okay, I'll listen, said Scrooge. But please, give it to me straight, but not too straight. Don't be flowery. Be straightforward so I understand, but not overwhelming. Okay, let me ask you a question then, Ebenezer. How is it I appear before you in a shape you can see? It's not a riddle. I also wonder that, too, because there's been many days I've been here and you couldn't see me. Scrooge didn't like that idea. He looked around like he was looking for someone watching him. He wiped the perspiration from his brow. Listen, there's no light part of my work. It's cheery. It's full of cheer. So I guess it's kind of my attitude, too. Maybe you're bringing out something in me, Scrooge. But I'm here tonight to share with you that you have yet a chance and hope of not exceeding, but escaping my fate. Though you play your cards the other way, you could be exceeding it. A chance and a hope of my procuring, Ebenezer. Okay, thanks, man. You've always been such a good friend, said Scrooge. Okay, you're going to be visited by 3 characters tonight. 3 characters portrayed in song and screen, musicals, movies, shows. 3 visits. 3 very special visitors. Scrooge's countenance fell almost as low as Jacob's frowny face was. Okay, but wait a second. So is the chance and hope that you mentioned, Jacob, this is part of the chance? It is. I'm not so sure. I don't even, like, are these beings, these are characters or beings from other realms or realms beyond my understanding? I prefer not. Isn't there some more efficient way or less and, better way? Said Scrooge. No, without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Except the first tomorrow when the bell tolls 1. Sorry, I'm not catching. I'm not sure. Couldn't all 3 of them come together with you here to keep me comfort? Just get it over with, Jacob. How about that? Expect the second visitor on the same night at the same hour. And the third, upon the next night when the last stroke of 12 has ceased to vibrate. Look to see me no more. And look that, for your own sake, you remember what has passed between us. When he said these words, he took some of the tinsel and picked it up and wrapped it around him. Now Scrooge knew by this because it made like a jingling sound, and he surrounded himself in tinsel, and there was even a little mistletoe above his head. And he looked Jacob up and down and found him standing before him, wrapped in tinsel, almost like a tinsel, like he was wearing a suit of tinsel, like a mummy, but instead of band, like toilet paper is tinsel. And then he walked backwards, and every step he took, the window went up. The window of his house, and then by the time he backed up to it, it was wide open. He beckoned Scrooge to approach, which he did. When they were within 2 paces of each other, Marley held up his hand, warning him, come no closer, and Scrooge stopped. Not so much in obedience as surprise, for on the raising of the hand, he became sensible of jingling, laughter in the air, sounds of braying reindeer, children joyfully singing, and Jacob groaning, even though he wasn't groaning at the moment. And Marley, after listening for a moment, he did groan, and then floated up and out the window. Though it seemed like he was with some sort of sparkles, red and green sparkles coming out of his shoes. Scrooge followed to the window, hoping to see the noonday below or something. He was curious. He looked at, maybe see Rudolph. He looked out, and the air was filled with other Marleys moving hither and thither in restless haste, and groaning and jingling as they went. Every one of them wore tinsel like Marley did. Some few... they seemed were even like tinsel, like in tinsel chains together, like they were like one tinsel connected to another. But everybody was covered in tinsel, and some poinsettias, and some those cranberries, some with popcorn too. Many of them Scrooge recognized, despite all the tinsel from past meetings. He saw one person who had like a lot of popcorn, like almost a waistcoat made of popcorn, but also was carrying a safe. And he was talking to somebody and like trying to like help a baby fall asleep. And it was confusing. Like This, because Scrooge said, I never heard of this before. And whether all these beings faded into the mist or the mist enshrouded them, Scrooge could not tell. But they and their voices faded together, and the night became as it had been when he walked home. So Scrooge closed his window and examined the door which Marley had entered. It was double locked. He had locked it with his own hands, and the bolts were undisturbed. Scrooge tried to say, humbug, but he said, huh. And being from the emotion he had undergone, or the fatigues of the day, or his glimpse into the invisible world, or just his conversation with Marley, or the lateness of the hour, he was in need of some repose, so he went straight to bed without undressing and fell asleep upon the instant. Stave 2. The first character to visit Scrooge. When Scrooge awoke, it was so dark that looking out of his bed, he could scarcely distinguish from the transparent window from the opaque walls of his bedroom. He was endeavoring to pierce the darkness with his ferret eyes when the chimes of a neighboring church struck the 4 quarters. So he listened for the hour. To his great astonishment, the heavy bell went from 6 to 7, and then from 7 to 8, and regularly up to 12, and then it stopped. 12. It was past 2 when he went to bed. The clock was wrong. 12. No. An icicle must have got in the works. 12. He touched the spring of his repeater to correct the most preposterous clock. Its rapid little pulse beat 12 and then stopped. Wait a second. No. It can't be 12, said Scrooge. That I have slept through a whole day and far into another night? That isn't possible. The sun, maybe it's 12. Is it noon? 12? The idea of not knowing what time it was alarmed him, so he scrambled out of bed and groped his way to the window. He was obliged to rub the frost off with his sleeve from his dressing gown before he could see anything. He could see very little then. All he could make out was that it was still very foggy and extremely cold, and there was no noise of people running to or fro, making a great stir, as there questionably would have been, because it was a busy street, if night had to come to day, and then that day was in possession of the world. But this was a great relief, because 3 days after sight of this first of exchange, paid to Mr. Ebenezer, or what the heck? This was a great relief because 3 days after the sight of this first exchange, pay to Mr. Ebenezer Scrooge or his order, and so forth, would have become something if there was no days to count by. This is his business, counting days, I guess, is in a sense. So relieved the time he had traveled time, Scrooge went to bed again and thought it over and over. He couldn't make nothing of it. The more he thought, the more perplexed he was, and the more he endeavored not to think, and then the more he thought. Just like a listener asleep with me, probably. The fact that Marley visited him bothered him. Every time he resolved things with himself after mature inquiry, said, it was just a dream. His mind flew to some detail, like a strong spring released its first position, and he presented the same problem to be worked through again. Was it a dream or not? Scrooge lay in this state till the chime had gone 3 quarters more, and then he remembered all of a sudden that he said, I was going to have a visitor when the bell tolled 1. He resolved to lie awake until the hour was past, and considering that he could go no more to sleep than go to another world, then he perhaps said, this is the wisest resolution in my power. And this is pretty poor. You could close your eyes, you could pretend to be asleep, you could try to sleep, or you could just stay awake. Or you could get up and do something, or you could leave and go out. Scrooge so far chosen to stay awake. The quarter was so long, and he was more than once convinced he must have sunk into a heavy doze unconsciously. and missed the clock. At length it broke upon his listening ear. Ding dong. A quarter past, said Scrooge, counting. Ding dong. Half past, said Scrooge. Ding dong. A quarter to it, said Scrooge. Ding dong. The hour itself, said Scrooge triumphantly, and nothing and nobody else. But he had spoke before the hour bell sounded, which it now did with a deep, dull, melancholy tone. Light flashed up in the room upon this instant, and the curtains of his bed were drawn. The curtains of his bed were drawn aside, I tell you, by a hand. Not the curtains by his feet, nor the curtains at his back, but those to which his face was addressed. The curtains of his bed were drawn aside, and Scrooge, starting up into a half-recumbent attitude, found himself face to face with his visitor, who drew their eyes as close to Scrooge as my voice is to your ears right now, as if I am standing at your elbow. Also, a little aside here. So this is the glory days of canopy beds, when your bed was its own curtain sleeping area. Whence did this change and why? I mean, other than for airflow, this seems to make a lot of sense, having a bed that's also somewhat of a tent as far as sleep hygiene goes. Now, this figure, it was different, this character. It was like childlike, but not a child. It also had appearance of like, well, he didn't know translucent, but his appearance of like being see-through, but not translucent, or transparent. And also kind of having fun like a child, a big smile, long hair down its back, white hair, but not with age, as their face did not have a wrinkle in it. And the tenderest bloom upon the skins of their cheek. Their arms were long and muscular, and the hands the same, as if they held uncommon strength. Legs and feet most delicately formed, and shorts. They were wearing shorts or culottes. I'm not sure the difference. Short sleeve shirts, and kind of like it wasn't a shirt. I guess you'd call it a tunic of purest white. And round its waist bound a lustrous belt, the sheen of which was beautiful. And they held a branch of fresh green holly in their hand. And in a singular contradiction of this wintry album, the print around the cuff of the culottes was summer flowers. Or shorts, I don't know. The strangest thing about it was, though, from the crown of its head, like there was like a light, not a halo, but it was like, I mean, nowadays we'd be able to say it was like their hair was also, what are those things called? Fiber optic. Their hair did not look like fiber optic threads, but light came out of the tips of their hair. But also, like, the core of their hair follicles was glowing with light. A neon light, like a bright white neon light, but warming and calming at the same time, but cool. Bright, very bright. And they also had under their arm a cap, like you'd say the cap you wear for a long winter's nap, possibly. But even this cap, when Scrooge looked at it with increasing steadiness, the cap was not strange, no. But their belt, it glittered and sparkled in one part and another. Scrooge didn't have battery power or mystical powers. Like lights, it would do in different modes, like chasing mode, strobe mode, blinking message, maybe even a Morse code mode. It was a belt, man. It was a show within a show on a belt. And And it wasn't cheap looking, so it looked mystical and magical because maybe it was. Like light after light, and then it would go dark so that the light would have more power. And the figure itself fluctuated in its distinctness. You know, being like with all the flashing lights in their hair and their belt. You know, one, they'd be bathed in light, then they'd be bathed in shadow, then they'd be bathed on the right side with light or the left. Then you could see their head, then you could see their body. And it seemed to be that the dense gloom surrounding them melted away. And in the very wonder of this, there would be this being again, distinct and clear as ever. And, you know, we've seen this portrayed many times, but this one, I could say, in this particular version was elven, but not Galadriel's elves, though it could be. More of a Keebler elf, but not in green and red. Though, I say ironically, Keebler elves are dressed for the holidays. You know, a Keebler elven sleeping cap under their arm, and I don't know why. I guess it could be a bit elven, too. Any elf will do, whichever elf you choose. But distinct and clear as ever. Excuse me, are you the one whose coming was foretold to me? Asked Scrooge. I am. The voice, also elven, I guess. Soft and gentle, singularly low, as if it was at a distance, even though it was close by. He said, wow, I don't know, like maybe you are an elf. But Scrooge didn't know any of this. He didn't have these pop culture references. So he said, who and what are you? In a demanding voice. I'm here representing Christmas past. You could say I'm the elf of Christmas past. The shelf elf? I've heard about that. Which past? Whose past? Long past? No, your past. Repast? No, your past. Half past? No, Ebenezer, your past. Yes, Ebenezer, your past. Now, perhaps Scrooge couldn't have told anybody why if they'd asked him. But he had this uncontrollable thing, which, as at a distance, we could say is incredibly cute and disarming for Scrooge, for our view of Scrooge. But this was deep-seated in Ebenezer. We can't exactly tell the reason why, but Ebenezer deeply desired to see this elf in their cap, and begged him to put it on. Please, can you put that cap on your head, please? Can you wear your cap? Can you doff your cap to me? What? Exclaimed the elf. Would you so soon? But do you see my hair? It's glowing, and I also have a high pro glow. I mean, VO5 hot oil didn't do this, but it could have helped. Would you so soon put out with worldly hands the light that doth shine from my hair, that I give freely? Is it not enough that you are one of those whose passions made this cap? And for years and years and years, I had to wear this low on my brow because of people like you? Huh. I say, what? Scrooge reverently disclaimed all intention to offend or any knowledge of having been willfully bonneted the spirit in any period of his life. He then made bold to inquire what business brought. You forget about the cap. I just wanted to. I just had this deep desire within me to see you in that cap. I'm sorry. I had no intention in it. But I'm just wondering what you're here for, anyway. All caps aside. I'm here for your welfare, said the elf. Oh, you're much obliged then, Scrooge said. I mean, but, no offense, if you're here for my, welfare, my best interests, yes, your best interests. I mean, because I could have been asleep, but I was I got woken up, and then I couldn't tell what time it was. Then I was waiting for you. So if I was asleep, if I could have been asleep, that much, would have been way more conducive to my well-being, me sleeping. You know what I'm saying? The spirit, hearing him go on and on and on, raised their hand gently and said, okay, your reclamation then, take heed. And then it took its hand from holding it upright and held it out and clasped Scrooge gently by the arm. Here, out of bed, come, walk with me. Now, it would have been vain for Scrooge to plead the weather and the hour. It's just not that'd be my first thing I would have done. You're right. It's not really a good time to go out walking. I need a bunch of layers. Have you walked in dense fog before in the winter? Because neither one of us, you'll definitely have to wear your cap out there, unless your hair creates heat. Even so, couldn't it, is it waterproof? Because it's just it's going to be wet and in our bones wet, no matter how many layers we put on. Also, generally, nighttime, not a great time around here to be walking. My bed's warm. And look at the thermometer. It's below freezing. I got my slippers, but I'd have to put on a few layers of socks. I just have this dressing gown and nightcap. By the way, I think I'm catching something, too. And I've just not been feeling great. And I appreciate, again, to get back, if it's my welfare or reclamation. What's the reclamation policy for if I get sick when you're reclaiming me? If it's the past, right? But the grasp, while it was gentle, it was not to be resisted. And Scrooge rose, and finding the elf made towards the window, he clasped against the elf in supplication. Oh, by the way, also I can't fly, so this is I'm going to be cold. I can't fly. Bear but a touch of my hand, and there, said the elf, laying it upon their heart, you shall be upheld in more than this. Was that a metaphor, your heart's going to keep me warm and fly? But as the words were spoken, they passed through a wall and stood upon an open country road with fields on either hand. The city had entirely vanished, not a vestige of it was to be seen. The darkness and the mist had vanished with it, for it was a clear, cold winter day with the snow upon the ground. Goodness gracious, said the Scrooge, clasping his hands together as he looked about. Wait a second. This looks just like the place I grew up in, where I was a kid. The spirit gazed upon him mildly. Its gentle touch, though it had been light and instantaneous, appeared still present to the old man's sense of feeling. He was conscious of 1,000 odors floating in the air, each one of them connected with 1,000 thoughts, 1,000 hopes, 1,000 joys, and 1,000 cares long forgotten. You're sniffing at the air, and your lip is trembling, said the elf. And what is that upon your cheek? Scrooge muttered with an unusual catching in his voice that it was a pimple, and begged the elf to lead him where he would. You recollect the way? Inquired the elf. I remember it. I could walk it blindfold. Strange to have forgotten it after so many years, observed the elf. Let us go on. They walked along the road, Scrooge recognizing every gate and post and tree, until a little market town appeared in the distance with its bridge, its church, and its winding river. Some shaggy ponies now were seen trotting towards them with boys upon their backs, who called to other boys in country gigs and carts driven by farmers. All of these boys were in great spirits and shouted to each other until the broad fields were so full of merry music that the crisp air laughed to see it or hear it. These are but shadows of the things that have been, said the elf. They have no consciousness or awareness of it. More and more happy travelers came on, and as they came, Scrooge knew and named them every one. Why, he was rejoiced beyond all bounds to see them. His cold eye glistened and his heart leapt as they went past. He didn't understand why he was filled with gladness when he heard them each give each other Merry Christmas as they parted at the crossroads and byways for their several homes. What was Merry Christmas to Scrooge? Out upon Merry Christmas, what good had it ever done to him? There's still some people at the school, I believe, said the elf. A solitary child is there still. Scrooge said he knew it, and he got choked up. They left the high road by a well-remembered lane and soon approached a mansion of dull red brick with a little weather, like one of those things, weather vane, surmounted on a cupola on the roof with a bell. It was a large house, but one that seemed cool and unhappy, for a lot of it was little used, and the walls were damp and mossy. Some of the windows broken, the gates decayed. Birds walked around like they owned the place, and the coach houses and sheds were overrun with grass. Nor was it more retentive of its ancient state within. It was a dreary hall, glancing through the open doors of many rooms, poorly finished, cold and vast. There was an earthly savor in the air, a chilly bareness in the place, which associated itself somehow with too much getting up by candlelight and not too much to eat. They went, and the elf and Scrooge crossed the hall to the door at the back of the house. It opened before them and disclosed a long, bare, melancholy room, made bare still by lines of plain deal forms and desks. At one of these, a lonely boy was reading near a feeble fire, and Scrooge sat down upon a form and looked at himself as he had used to be. Not a latent echo in the house, not a squeak in a scuffle from a mouse, not a drip from the half-thawed water spout in the dull yard behind, not a sigh among the leafless boughs of one despondent tree, not the idle swinging of empty storehouse door, no, not a clicking in the fire, but fell upon the heart of Scrooge with softening influence to give a freer passage to his tears. The spirit touched him on the arm and pointed to his younger self, intent upon his reading. Suddenly a man in very fancy garments, but different garments, wonderfully real and distinct to look at, stood outside the window. He had an axe in his belt, and he was leading by bridle a donkey laden with wood. "Hello, hello," said Scrooge in ecstasy. "Oh, dear old Ollie. Yes, I know. One Christmas time when yonder Scrooge was here, he did come for the first time, just like that. And Valentine," said Scrooge, "and his brother Orson, there they go. And what's his name, who's in the drawers, asleep at the gate of Damascus? Don't you see him? These are characters from books. I'm seeing them in the real world. The Sultan's horse, the genie. Yep. Oh, boy, do I remember. Didn't one of them get married to the princess?" To hear Scrooge expending all the earnestness of his nature on subjects in a most extraordinary voice between laughing and crying, to see his heightened and excited face, would have been a surprise to his business friends in the city, indeed. And there's a green parrot flying by, green and yellow. Oh, look at that tail. It's like a flying lettuce on its head. And remember Robin Crusoe? Oh, no, that's what we called him, Robin Crusoe. He came, oh, no, that was the guy who sailed around the island. Where have you been, Robin Crusoe? And, yeah, oh, boy, and then the parrot would say, like, he'd repeat what he said. There goes Friday, he would say, hello, 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 down to the creek. There goes Friday. And Scrooge started to flap his wings and spin about the room. And then, with a rapidity of transition, surprising to his usual character, he said in a pity for his former self, poor boy, and cried again. I wish, Scrooge muttered, putting his hand in his pocket and looking about him after drying his eyes, but it's too late now. What's the matter? Asked the spirit. Nothing, said Scrooge, nothing. But, well, there's a boy singing a Christmas carol at my door last night. I wish I gave him something, that's all. The elf smiled thoughtfully and waved their hand, saying as it did so, let us see yet another Christmas. Scrooge's former self grew larger at the words, and the room became darker, more dirty. The panels shrunk, the windows cracked, and fragments of plaster fell out of the ceiling. How all this was brought, Scrooge had no more idea than you would. Maybe magic, maybe something else. He only knew that the room was changing, that everything had happened so, that there he was, alone again, as the other boys had gone home for the jolly holidays. He was not reading now. He was walking up and down, pacing. Scrooge looked at the elf and with a mournful shaking of his head glanced anxiously at the door. It opened and a little girl much younger than the boy came darting in and putting her arms around his neck and often kissing him, addressing him as dear, dear brother. I've come to bring you home, dear, dear brother, said the child, clasping their hands. To bring you home, 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 she said. Home, little fan, returned the boy. Yes, said the child with glee. Home for good, home for all, home forever and ever. Father's in quite a good mood this year, better than he used to be, and home is the best. He even reads us stories and gives us gifts. And I had been asking him, when's Ebenezer coming home? And he said, yes, go find him. And he sent me in a coach to bring you. But it looks like you're about to become a man, said the child, opening her eyes. But hopefully you never have to come back here because we're going to spend Christmas together all Christmas long and have the merriest time in the world. It's quite too good to see you, little fan, said the boy. She clapped her hands and laughed and tried not to pat him on the head. But being little, she tried, but she couldn't reach him, so she laughed again and then stood on her tiptoes to hug him. And then she began to drag him in her childless eagerness towards the door. And he held on to her and they headed out. But then there was a voice in the hall. Bring down Master Scrooge's box there. The schoolmaster glared on Scrooge with condescension and shook his hands and conveyed him and his sister into the, like a parlor, one that didn't seem very nice. There was maps upon the walls and celestial and terrestrial globes in the windows, but it was waxy and cold. And here he produced a decanter of curiously light wine and a block of heavy cake and administered installments of them to the people, while sending out a meager servant to offer a glass of something to the postboy, who had answered it and thanked the gentleman. But if it was the same tap that he'd tasted before, he was like, no, thank you. Mr. Scrooge's trunk at this time being tied on the top of the chaise, the children bade the schoolmaster goodbye right willingly, and got into it and drove down the garden sweep, the quick wheels dashing upon the frost and snow off the dark leaves of evergreen like spray. Always a delicate creature, but she had a large heart, said the elf. So she had, said Scrooge. You're right. I will not gainsay it, elf. She ended up having children, I believe, said the elf. One child, Scrooge returned. True, said the elf. Your nephew? Scrooge, seemingly uneasy in mind, answered briefly, yes. Although they had but a moment left of school behind them, they were now in the busy thoroughfares of a city where shadowy passengers passed and repassed, and carts and coaches went by. Busy traffic, strife and tumult of a real city. That was clear enough by the dressing of the shops. It was Christmas time, but it was evening and the streets were lighted up. The elf stopped at a door and asked Scrooge if he knew where it was. I do, but could we take before we go to the party, let's rest up. Oh, yeah, this is where I used to work, but that's a great idea, said the elf. And so they went to the inn next door and climbed the stairs and got in a bed, two separate beds. But they could hear the sounds of a holiday party next door just getting started. Through the thick walls, it was relaxing and calming to them and everyone listening. It made them comfortable and ready to drift away, listening to a holiday party at a distance. We'll be back with more soon. Hey everybody, this is Scoots. We're having a sale on gift subscriptions to Sleep With Me. So if you want to have someone give you the gift to Sleep With Me, they could save 20% off whichever package they buy. 20% off if they go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/gift. So say, yeah, give me the gift to Sleep With Me, or I'm going to give it to myself. It's changed my life, and I'd love to check out the ad-free episodes, the story-only episodes. I'd love to be a Boar Friend or a Boar Bestie, get those all-night and all-intro episodes. Tell them, or go there yourself, sleepwithmepodcast.com/gift, and get a great discount if this show's changed your life. What could be a better gift than it being around for you next year and having access to all that sweet, sweet bonus content? Thanks and good night.